Welcome back to All for United, and thank you for ditching your broadcast. Well, yeah, there you are. For ditching your broadcaster and spending the Europa League draw with us. We'll be talking through the draw and reacting to it as it happens. Here we go. Anton, you're back. I can see you moving around. Perfect. Nearly technical difficulties ruined it, but we've got you back. I don't know if I can hear you now, though, Anton. Oh, I can't hear you now. There we go. Technical difficulties. They're probably having this. Where are they doing a draw today? Lisbon or France or somewhere? They're probably having technical difficulties there as well. But we're joined by Henry. We're joined by former raid Daniel Nardiello as well. No, it's good to have you back, mate. First of all, draw day. You've been through a few cup draws in your playing days. What's it like for the players sat there anxiously waiting to see what names come out the hat?
Yeah, it's exciting. I remember the most recent time, I suppose, when I was playing semi-professional football for Bangor, and we qualified for the Europa League qualifiers, and you're dying to get a big club in those circumstances. So, yeah, I'm sure the lads of all the teams in the Europa League will be keenly looking out to see if they can play one of their teammates or one of their home nations or something like that.
Yeah, Henry, where's your head out with the Europa League? I put a tweet out earlier on just saying, look, who'd you like to get? Do we want a tough draw? Do we want an easy draw? And everyone's just like, chuck the under-23s in. We don't care about the Europa League. But from my perspective, this is a competition we can go and win. So where are you at with the Europa League?
No, absolutely. I mean, we can't be too sort of, naive in thinking that, we're the old Man United of old and this is a competition that doesn't matter to us. And, the cup competitions aren't relevant because they absolutely are. Obviously, it's been 5 years since we've had a bit of silverware. So any chance we can get at winning a competition, has to be taken very seriously. And also, we don't know how the league's going to go this season. Obviously, a little bit, optimistic now with the Liverpool win. But, the Europa League does obviously grant you qualification for the Champions League as well if you win it. So we might end up having to take that route in getting into the Champions League like we did with Jose in his first season. I don't really mind the draw, to be honest. I think a mixture of, perhaps one, big game in there mixed with, two other lesser clubs, I think would probably be best. You want to stay on your toes in some way. So getting a bigger club, I don't think would be a massively bad thing, really. But obviously, we want to qualify for the group. We want to go on and try and push on and try and win the competition. So obviously, an easier group's okay. But I think it's a competition that needs to be taken seriously. And I don't think we should be, naive to think it is irrelevant to us.
Yeah, should we have a look at who's in those pots then? Because I put this out earlier on and you can go and have a look at this now at All for United. Make sure you like the video, by the way, and share the link. So we'll go through the clubs. So these are the teams that we can't face. These are the teams in pot one. Roma, Arsenal, Lazio, Braga, Red Star Belgrade, Dynamo Kiev, and Olympiacos. Pot two, so we can face these teams. Feyenoord, PSV, Rennes, Monaco, Real Sociedad, Karabag, which, by the way, is miles away. Malmo and Ludogorets are in pot two. Then in pot three, we've got Sheriff, who are the team that gave Roma all sorts of nightmares last year, didn't they? Sheriff in the Conference League, if I remember right. It's those guys, Real Betis, Midtjylland. You've then got Glimt. You've got, I don't even know how to pronounce these guys, Ferencváros, something like that. Union Berlin, Freiburg, Fenerbahce, and then in pot four, you've got Nantes, HJK, Sturm Graz, Larnaca, Omonia, which those guys finished 7th in the Cyprus League. I don't actually know their route to the Europa League, but what an achievement for those guys to get into pot four. Then you've got Zurich, Union Saint Gilloise, and you've got Trabzonspor as well, the Turkish side. I will share that now so you guys can see it on the screen. Anton, can you hear us? Have you got us?
Can you hear me?
There we go. We've got you, mate. Yeah, we've got you. I'm going to share this on screen now so you guys can see the pots. First of all, Anton, Europa League, priority for Ten Hag?
I think given the squad depth that we kind of don't have this season, we're obviously not going to win the league. I think if we get deep enough into the competition, I think you kind of have to put a lot of the eggs into that basket. I don't think he goes into the season prioritizing it. I think he prioritizes qualifying for Champions League comfortably, maybe an FA Cup, but look, I don't think we have the squad depth to prioritize the Europa League right now, to be honest with you. So for me, no. I would like to win it, obviously, but I don't think it's a priority right now.
Not a priority right now. No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I'm just going to bring some of the comments on the screen as well. Abudi's with us. Hey, pal, how you doing? David's with us as well. Sorry, that was it. Yeah, Sheriff beat Real Madrid last season. That was it. They beat Real Madrid.
They beat another team as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they played with a lot of aggression at the, if I remember, at the Bernabeu, wasn't it? And they were superb. They were superb. And Zahir's with us as well. Hey bud, nice to have you with us. Right, let's talk dream draws then, shall we? I put this on Twitter earlier on today. I think there's a few ways to look at a dream draw. Is a dream draw maybe how tasty it is? So, for example, PSV, you've got the Ruud van Nistelrooy connection, Fenerbahce, the tough away trip there, Zurich, very decent opposition. Or do you want to have a look at the easiest draw? Ludogorets, Michelin, Omonia, potentially. It's arguable. We don't obviously know everything about each of these teams. But if you was to look at this list here, Henry, who would you like to see United drawn against?
Out of pot two, I'd say I think you've already brought it up there. The PSV, obviously, the Ruud van Nistelrooy connection is obviously prominent. You know, Ruud is still a really popular figure in the United fan base. You know, I obviously was probably too young to remember his sort of time, but a lot of fans remember him very fondly. Obviously, you know, fantastic goal scorer for us in sort of the mid 2000s. So that'd be a brilliant draw, and obviously that's a decent side there as well. So, you know, keeps us on our toes with those two games rather than, you know, maybe as someone suggested, playing the youth all the way through. From pot three, you know, there's a couple of decent teams there. Michelin, obviously, we faced, I think, quite a few years ago in the Europa League. Real Betis would be a bit of a tough one, I think, from that third pot. So I think, as I say, really, from my dream draw, I think the way I'd do it is PSV from pot two, and then, to be honest, in the other two, as easy as possible. So you're probably looking at Ferencváros, or however you pronounce that. Apologies if I've butchered that there. And then, as you say, Ammonia. So one game to keep you on your toes, and then two where I think, you know, hopefully we can be comfortable. But, you know, we should be looking at this really and thinking we should be beating most of these teams really. So it's a bit of a tough one, but, you know, there's a lot of decent ties in there, and maybe some not so nice ones too. As you say, Karabag wouldn't be much of a nice trip for the fans and players alike on a Thursday night. So I think they should be avoided at all costs. But apart from that, it doesn't look too bad to me.
Yeah, I think worst draw in terms of flight times would be Karabag, Fenerbahce, and Larnaca.
Yeah.
In terms of going to, because you'd be having to go to you're going to have to, I can't remember where Karabag is now. Let me just quickly give it a Google.
Azerbaijan, I believe, isn't
it's
it?
Azerbaijan, isn't it? Yeah,
I think
so. Didn't the Europa League final, was it Arsenal Chelsea? Was it?
Yes,
Karabag?
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
And people couldn't get to the stadium because it was literally in the middle of nowhere. There was no like transport or cars or anything to get to it.
Yeah, it was a nice stadium from what I remember, but like you say, it's weirdly positioned. It was like out in the centre, and they found it a nightmare. So you've got Azerbaijan, then you've got Turkey, and then you've got Cyprus. So you're all looking at 5-hour flights, more or less, to each of those destinations. Dan, were you at United when Ruud was there?
Yeah, I was, and I think obviously a couple of guys have already alluded to. I think having Ruud come back with PSV, I think it not only would it be a challenge, but I think it'd be great for Ruud and the fan base, because he's a legend of the club. He was fantastic for the club, and speaking as a player that was, you know, underneath him, so to speak, because we trained his shooting drills together and stuff like that. He was an absolute delight to train with and be around. And I've actually got his Dutch shirt upstairs, tucked away in one of my drawers that he passed on to me when Wales played Holland many years ago when I was still playing. So really, really nice guy. He knows the game, and he's doing an excellent job, isn't he, at PSV? So it would be fantastic to have him back at the club, because I know he'd just get an awesome welcome.
Quick question on Ruud, Daniel, because he goes in every single one of my all-time 11s, just because I've never seen a more clinical striker on the pitch. And when you have a number 9 in your side, you want to have faith that when they've got the ball, they'll score, or if they haven't, they'll be in the right position. And for me, that was Ruud van Nistelrooy. Was he a nightmare for keepers in training?
Yeah, it was the same in, like, you know, the 5-a-side tournaments we did and the practice games and stuff like that. Even if you didn't see him through the whole period of the games or the 5-a-side tournaments, he was always there to knock the ball in the back of the net. So he just had a knack of getting in the right positions at the right time and hitting the back of the net. He never scored any like world-class goals, did he? Yeah, well, there was a couple, obviously, but he was just the ultimate goal scorer. And I think he was not only the goalkeeper's nightmare, he was the defender's nightmare as well, because trying to keep track of him and his movement in and around that 18-yard box was just second to none. So yeah, it was a dream to learn off as a young lad coming through as well. But yeah, he's a really nice bloke as well as that, because some of the first team players when I was there, they weren't particularly what's the word I can use? They weren't great with the young lads, let's put it that way. Whereas Rude really tried to help us and guide us and always gave us the time of day, whether he saw us in the Trafford Centre or after football when we played against him. So I really hope that he does come back and gets that applause he deserves from the fan base.
It's that goal against Fulham, wasn't it? That goal against Fulham, I think, pretty much is my standout moment from when I was a youngster watching United. Yeah, unbelievable. Ruud van Nistelrooy. So PSV pot 2 then there, Dan. Let me complete your group for United. Who would you like to see us face then? You'd like to see Ruud back at Old Trafford, would you?
Yeah, I think that's the common consensus, isn't it? I think most people would like to see PSV. It's a tough game as well, so it's a challenge. And I would echo what Henry said before as well. You want a couple of teams that are potentially easier. I don't think any particular team in pot 3 or 4 are going to be, should cause us too much of a problem. So it could be a case of playing a few fringe players, getting some young players, some experience in Europe, which is massive going forward as a young lad. It gives you some great experiences. But also the travel, we don't want to travel too far. So, I mean, I wouldn't be too fussed about who we get in pot 3, to honestly. I mean, a German team wouldn't be too bad. I think, is it the Danish team there as well? And the Norwegian team, they're not too far to travel. I don't think we'd struggle against them. And then I think, again, with pot 4, you can just take your pick. As long as the journey's not too bad, I think we'll be fairly happy with that.
Yeah, like a Union Berlin or a Freiburg and then non in pot 4 would do, wouldn't it? What about you then, Anton? How would I think we're all in agreement in terms of PSV so far? Is there another Spaniard you'd like to throw in the hat for any particular reason when it comes to pot 2? I mean, for me, a Dutch team would be nice out of pot 2 because it's a league that Ten Hag and sides that Ten Hag are familiar with. So even though they're competitive matches, you would expect Ten Hag to set us up to beat those sides as well, right?
Well, yeah, I would expect Ten Hag to. I expect him to be one of the better managers in the whole of the competition, to be honest. I wouldn't change PSV, though. I would like to play against PSV. I'm young as well, so I don't really remember Van Nistelrooy, in my lifetime that I remember ever doing anything at Manchester United, but I do know how good he was for the club. So I would like to play against PSV. I'm more on the side of I want the hardest games possible. I'm going to watch all the matches anyway, but I'm not really interested in watching United play against Ammonia and Cyprus. It just wouldn't be entertaining. I'd rather play against Nantes because they're in Liga in France. They're a decent team. Bodo Glimt, they were in the Conference League last season. They beat Roma. So they wouldn't be a pushover. Probably Real Betis as well, I'd like to play against because they have a few good players. So I think that would be an interesting match. Or maybe Union Berlin from the Bundesliga. I think one of those 2 clubs from pot 3 I'd like to play against.
Yeah, what about pot 4? Or you're not too concerned? I mean, Nantes probably the standout team, right? Sturmgras were there, but Salzburg walked that league.
I'd have to pick Nantes. I'm also thinking about. I think one of you guys. I think it might have been you said the fringe players would should be getting some minutes. So depending on who we get from pot 2 or 3. If we get more difficult teams from those pots, I'd probably take just a Zurich or a Trabzonspor from pot 4 so we can see some of the fringe players like Garnacho and like James Garner and players like that. But my first choice would be Nantes because I want to see Manchester United, actually have to challenge themselves.
Yeah, Trabzonspor was a shout as well. I mean, I know they're in Turkey, so we don't really want to travel there, but in terms of a competitive side, they're competitive in their league, and we've always struggled against Turkish teams in European competition. There's a lot of guys jumping in the live chat. Reese is with us. You know what, mate? Yeah, I agree. It's the round after the group stages that concern me more than anything, because looking at some of those Champions League draws, you're going to have some really good teams potentially drop into the Europa League. Hammer's with us. Morning, Hammer. Hope you're good. Tyler's with us as well. You're right, Tyler. And Connor over at the women's channel has also jumped in. Yeah, so just to set the scene for you guys, about 3 or 4 minutes ago, whilst Nards was talking, they've done this little lights thing, which was like, all I can describe it as was like weakest link. And the light sort of went down on this very lovely bald-looking guy who's probably the head of FIFA. And it looked like they were starting the formalities of the draw. They're currently explaining how the pots work. I mean, it doesn't take rocket science. Each team's in a pot. You can't draw against another team in your country or league. If you do, then they'll redraw. I mean, it's really not difficult or rocket science, but they still mess it up. So they're currently explaining that and moving a lot of things around the pots. So the draw will start at some point very, very soon. And I think they're starting to skip through this phase now. So fingers crossed, we'll be able to discuss who comes out the balls. I don't know. It's not out of the hat anymore, is it, Nards? It's not old-fashioned anymore. You know, the balls, what comes up on the screen for the first group in just a second. Henry, we've discussed who we'd like to see, and we've discussed the clubs and the potential possibilities. How concerned are you with Thursday nights to Sunday nights? Because this is always a discussion around the Europa League. Or for you, is it a case that, you know, United should be competing in every game?
Well, you know, as I've said, you know, this is a competition where, you know, we should be taking it seriously. But that being said, you know, you're going to have to rotate your squad with that Thursday to Sunday. It's not a nice schedule, and it was never going to be the ideal, really. Obviously, you know, missed out on the Champions League's ever positive at Man United, and you know, for that reason as well, it's a bit of an issue. And our squad obviously isn't incredibly deep. I'd say, you know, in certain positions we're okay with in terms of rotation, but obviously we're still quite light on numbers in quite a few positions. You know, so we'll see what happens. We should be, you know, hoping to get a couple more players in before the end of the window to just, you know, bolster that squad even more. But no, it's a bit of an issue. But as you say, we look at these pots, we look at these teams. You think Man United should be capable of competing with any of these sides, and therefore, you know, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. But obviously, it's not an ideal. And you know, for me, going to the game, I prefer to watch United 3:00 on a Saturday, and I don't think we've got any of those at Old Trafford until at least the new year. So that's a bit of a problem as well. But no, in terms of the players and stuff, we've got a squad there, but it's not ideal. But as I say, we should still be competing on all fronts and hoping to do so as well as possible.
Yeah, 100%. And the first two names are out the hat. So Arsenal are in Group A, and they're currently opening this ball here. Obviously, streams will be at slightly different times, and YouTube delays us a little bit as well. It's Dynamo Kyiv in Group B. Daniel, let me come over to you. With the World Cup, it's going to be a long season this season. There's going to be a lot of games to sort of fit in. What are your thoughts on squad rotation? He's made some really big decisions so far, Ten Hag, to leave out Ronaldo early on. Obviously, Ronaldo and Shaw have been out the squad. So what are your thoughts? Do you think Ten Hag will use the Europa League to rotate?
I think he has to. I think, as the lads have already said, I think the squad isn't, you know, huge in terms of depth, but there's plenty of youth team players that can come in and, you know, really give themselves a chance to prove themselves. And the teams that we're potentially playing against in the Europa League, I do think they're capable of playing against those teams. I think someone in the chat, didn't they? They said that it's the teams that come out of the Champions League that are going to be the real stern tests. So, given those young lads, given those fringe players, the likes of, you know, for example, the likes of Van der Beek, Shaw, who didn't play, against Liverpool. There's plenty of players that are on the bench or, you know, are pushing for a first team squad place that Ten Hag can utilise, and it gives him a chance as well to see those guys in action and see what they're actually capable of, rather than just viewing them in under 23s match reserves matches or training. So yeah, I think it's an absolute no-brainer that he uses those fringe players, youth team players in certain games in this competition, and should we progress even further, which we expect to do, that's when you can start bringing the big boys in to try and actually win the competition.
We've been drawn in Group D. Group C?
C, yeah.
Group C. We've been drawn in Group C. Sorry, Braga have been drawn in Group D. So we have been drawn in Group C. Yeah. Okay, nice. So we have been drawn now in Group C. They've done that a weird... why have they switched them around like that? Oh, it's so that we don't clash with... They can't, because we don't clash with Arsenal's fixtures. Because we were like the fifth or sixth club drawn. Yeah, we've gone into Group C. So, but there we go. Manchester United have been drawn in Group C. That's what happens when you don't watch the stupid, you know, the stupid bit at the start, I suppose. So we've now got one name left. They've just pulled out Olympiacos out of the hat. So I think there's one final name to be drawn. I think it might be Braga. Let's have a look.
No, it's the team with a weird name. It's the I want to say Red Star Belgrade.
Red Star Belgrade. Yeah, Red Star Belgrade.
Yeah.
So that's all pot one now drawn. So United are in Group C. So we'll find out our opponents next. So we'll be up against either final PSV, Rennes, Monaco, Real Sociedad, Qarabag, Malmo, or Ludogorets. We'll wait and see what happens there. Hopefully, they don't do a too longer break. Anton, we've spoken before a little bit about prioritising this, and you've spoken about playing the youth. So for you, looking at our squad at the moment, who do you think will get their opportunities in the Europa League? Because there's a lot of rumours with Ghana potentially being sold. You've seen Harry Maguire out the side. So who do you think Ten Hag will sort of be looking to rely upon within the Europa League?
I would assume we're talking about like the group stages, I guess the easier games. Maguire definitely is going to be a Europa League regular. He looks like he's not a first choice at the moment. Luke Shaw, Garnacho, Elanga, Van der Beek, Ghana, McTominay, I guess, because Casemiro is coming in. I would assume taking his position. Wan-Bissaka, you could probably field a completely different starting 11, to be honest.
Ruud van Nistelrooy is going back to Arsenal. PSV have been drawn in Group A against Arsenal.
That's disappointing. I mean, if we do manage to sign a backup keeper, then De Gea probably won't play in the Europa League. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure if anybody from the starting lineup against Liverpool would be playing in the Europa League, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I think the squad, the quality and depth isn't the best, but I mean, we do technically have a player for each position backup now, so you could really play a whole different starting 11 against some of the easier teams in the Europa League.
I think we've just been drawn against the Ludogorets.
Yeah.
Have we? No, we haven't. No, that's
we have.
Wait, what? Is it?
Turns out it is rocket science, the way the draw's done.
Yeah, no, this is really weird. No, so that's gone to Roma, so we're not Group C. I think we are Group D. I think they messed up the screen grab as well.
I think we might be Group E even.
Yeah, I think we might be Group E. This is the way that this is laid out, by the way. We're Group E. So
we're Group E. It looks like it's Group. Oh, we are. Yeah,
we're Group E. Yeah,
we're Group E. So Ludogorets have just gone into Group C. Malmo have just gone into Group D. So they're just about to draw us now. You're right. It really is rocket science. So Braga, Malmo, PSV have gone. Ludogorets have gone. So this is us now. So United have been drawn in Group E, and we're just coming out the ball now, and we have got
Real Sociedad.
Oh, I like that. Real Sociedad. We've struggled against Spanish sides. Why are you nodding, Henry?
No, we played them a couple of seasons ago, I think, didn't we? In the Europa League, I think behind closed doors, I believe we played them, and I think we just got past them over two legs. Obviously, got David Silva, I think, as well.
Got Oyarzabal, the left winger as well.
Yeah. I keep trying to think about the Real Sociedad players, but isn't what's his name there now? No, David Silva's not there, is he?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, right. He's there, and they've had a poor start, to be fair, to the season. I'm just having a look here now at their start to the season. They've not had the best start, but they're only a game in. They've got the I can never say his name, Mikel Moreno, the one who played for Newcastle. And of course, Isaac is just about to leave them.
Newcastle, 70 mil.
Yeah, 70 mil. Danny, what do you make of that? 70 mil for Ajax to Newcastle.
I just think nowadays it's a lot to do with maybe the club as well, with the owners and the money they've got now. It's just the way of football. When a big club with a lot of money comes in for players, the prices get inflated and it's crazy. So I can only see it getting worse. It's madness, but I mean, I think that's just the football world we live in nowadays. As soon as a big club comes in for a player from abroad, even in the English market, it's just prices are inflated like crazy.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit of feedback, Daniel. I don't know if it's from you or if it's from someone else, but I'm getting a bit of feedback and you're going really quiet then, so I'm not sure who. Let me just quickly mute everyone. I'll see who we're getting the feedback from. Okay, it's not Daniel. I think it's you, Henry.
Oh, I thought it was me. I was getting scared.
As he's just about to chuck his headphones on the floor then. Look, it was just about to get them and shut them. It's all right, mate. Just unmute when you talk. That's absolutely fine. It's just it was cutting Daniel out a bit. Talking about transfer fees then, Daniel, let's quickly talk about Anthony. That's looking like 100 million euros if that goes through. What do you make of that one? But even 70 million pounds we're looking at now for Gordon. It's mental.
It is. It's getting crazy by the season, isn't it? By the transfer window. It's unfortunately, I just think that's the way football's going, and I think what I've seen of Anthony, he looks like a talent. He looks like a great player. We've also got to trust in Erik ten Hag as well with the players that he wants in. So we've got to get the right players that fit his system and how he wants to play. And if the money's there to be spent and he wants to spend that money on Anthony, then so be it. I think United can afford it. I think all these other clubs can, afford it. So I don't mind it too much as long as it's affordable for the club and the club's not going to fold in the background like it's happened with a few of the lower league clubs. I don't think that's going to happen to the likes of Newcastle, Manchester United, City, and all the big clubs with big owners or wealthy clubs, I should say. So for me, it's crazy. It's got worse and worse since when I was playing 20 years ago. So it's just part and parcel of being a Premier League football club now. But it's a big price tag for Anthony to come over and perform. He's got a bit of pressure on him, but hopefully Ten Hag can, nurture him, coach him, train him, bring him into the team gradually, and he can perform. It's always been a bit of a mixed bag, hasn't it, when Dutch players have come, or players playing the Dutch league have come over, I should say. So hopefully he's one of those guys that can come over and cement a place in the team and perform from day one.
Yeah, David's just putting here. Januzaj also plays for them too. Although apparently Everton are looking at Januzaj. I've heard. Real Betis have come out the hat. Fenerbahce have as well, as have Glimt in Arsenal's group. Sheriff have just come out the hat as well, and they will be in Manchester United's group. So we have got Sheriff, and we have also got Real Sociedad. Sheriff? They're Moldova, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's not too bad. That's a couple of hours on the plane, isn't it? But again, it's one of those cup ties. Madrid struggled to get up for Sheriff, and I think that was part of the reason why they obviously had difficulties there. I do worry about these smaller clubs, and when you go to places like Sheriff that are a lot smaller in terms of looking at the stadium and being there and the club size and the stature, that the players just won't pick themselves up for it, and that is always my concern. And Union Berlin have just come out the hat as well to finalise pot 3. So we'll be going on to the final pot in just a second. So far, Anton, you happy with that? Real Sociedad and Sheriff?
Yeah. I either wanted Sociedad or PSV, maybe Feyenoord from the pot 2. So I'm happy with Sociedad. It'll be a difficult game. Sheriff, I mean, obviously they beat Real Madrid last season, so we can't expect that to be a walkover. I mean, I would love to go to one of these games, one of the away games, but I mean, I'm comfortable with the draw so far. I think we'll be fine.
Would you walk into that away game at Sheriff and be like, "Hey, there's a new sheriff in town"?
That's the worst joke I've heard in a long time.
It was Henry shaking his head. That's yeah. Henry, what are your thoughts? You've known me long enough. You knew that was coming.
What, the thoughts on the joke or the thoughts on?
I mean, we can talk about that if you like. This is a watch along. There's a lot of content creators that talk about worse on watch along streams, so it's up to you.
There certainly is. Yeah, I'm not so sure about the joke. I won't dwell on that one for too long. I'll keep that one moving. No, I think the group's sort of the ideal that I asked for, really, isn't it? You got Sociedad, who you'd imagine would keep you on your toes, really, but shouldn't be a massive issue. And then you've got a team in Sheriff, which obviously United should is the key word there, be dispatched on pretty easily, but as you say, they've caused teams like Real Madrid problems. We've had problems caused over the years by all sorts of teams in Champions League groups and Europa League groups. So you can't be too confident. But no, I'd say so far that's okay, really. And obviously, pot 4, you look there and we should be beating all those teams. So yeah, no, I think it's an okay draw so far. I don't think we can have too many complaints.
Daniel, what do you think? I mean, I'm slightly concerned. It's only not long ago, a couple of seasons ago, that we did struggle against Real Sociedad, and we've got a history of struggling against Spanish sides. And then we look at Sheriff as an sort of an unknown quantity, but we've seen from their recent history they can beat the big boys. They work hard. They've got a good manager. If they've still got him, I'm not 100% sure. But what are you making of it so far? Competitive at the very least?
Yeah, it's competitive. I think Real Sociedad is always going to be a tough one. I think going over to Spain, their style of play, I think we've not always done great when going over to Spain, have we? But it's a test, it's a challenge, it's something that I think the lads need to be up for there, or for every game. I don't mind it. Like I said earlier, I think it's not the key competition for us. I think by playing some of our fringe players and the young players, we can compete, win the games and qualify, and then bring the big boys in later on down the line. So I'm happy with the draw so far. Sheriff are the unknown, but ultimately they've shown what they're capable of. So, and we know that Ten Hag likes the best out of his players, doesn't he? And if he doesn't give them, if the players don't give 100% nowadays, they're going to get beasted the next day running, based on stories we've read in recent days. So, not too bad a draw. But like I say, I think we should comfortably qualify regardless of who we get.
And on that, United have drawn one of the Cypriot sides, Omonia, as our final side. Which, by the way, there's a positive and negative in that. Omonia, I don't want to talk them down, obviously, but they are obviously one of the naturally the worst ranked teams in the Europa League this year. And how they made their route to it, I'm not 100% sure. Because like I said, from what I saw, they were the 7th place team in their league last season. So that's quite interesting. But fair play to them for getting to this point, because they would have obviously had to play competitive knockout rounds to get here. So again, a bit of an unknown quantity. My issue with that is that's a 5-hour flight to Cyprus for that game on a Thursday. It's a difficult one, isn't it? And if these fixtures, I mean, I'm not 100% sure where the fixtures are going to be played, but if you've got a couple of competitive games either side of that fixture, it more or less means you've got no training day, have you there, Daniel? You completely miss a training day. And fatigue will set in because of the travelling on that one. So yeah, Manchester United have got Omonia. I'll tell you what, Arsenal's draw is interesting. So it's Arsenal, PSV, then they've got Glimt, and then they've got Zurich as well. That's not a straightforward or formality for them. I don't know. I don't know whether I prefer United's group or not. But there you go, Anton. Some final thoughts just on the group from yourself. So Omonia, Real Sociedad, and Sheriff.
I'm happy with the group, but you'll never guess who the manager of Omonia is.
Go on.
Neil Lennon, the former Celtic manager. So
interesting.
I just typed their name in quickly and seen that. I'm happy with that. I was just looking at prices to Cyprus, actually, because I was thinking you could go on a little holiday and then go to a United match before you come back. I'm excited. I want to see some of the youth players play. I definitely want to see Garnacho play in that match specifically. I think he'd have a good time, get him some minutes on the pitch and first team action. I would imagine the rest of the team would be pretty strong. Look, Maguire, Shaw, probably Lindelof as well. Wan-Bissaka will be a solid back four. I think we'll be comfortable. I've got absolutely no worries about this group, to be honest with you.
And looking at this, they beat Belgium's side Genk to 2-0 to make it through, which is, I mean, a great achievement. They've also got a Spanish centre-back who I've heard of, Justi. I don't quite know how I know him. But also they've got ex-Cardiff wing-back Adam Matthews as well, plays for them, the Welsh footballer, which is interesting. There's a few names here. They've definitely been on the free transfer market. They were in the Conference League last year, apparently. And they lost. Well, they didn't win a game. Oh. They lost to Karabag, they lost to Basel, but they also did draw to both Karabag, Basel, and also Kairat, which is a Kazakhstani side. They were 2-0 draws against them. But yeah, interesting. They built in the playoff rounds to the Europa League. They beat Ghent, which is very, very interesting. Their last, I believe, Europa League flurry was that Europa League? No, that wasn't Europa League. That looks like Conference League there. But I don't know when I don't think they've ever been in the Europa League. So very, very interesting. Anyway, an unknown quantity here in Omonia, which is very interesting. What do you reckon then, Henry? We've seen the draw. We're going to win it?
The whole competition or the group? I mean, hopefully both, really. But we should sail through the group. I mean, at face value, you'd say it all looks pretty breezy, apart from perhaps Sociedad. But you've got to consider as well, these teams will obviously raise their game. Against Man United, every player wants to relish the opportunity and make a name for themselves, and they'll try and get up for these games. And that's what's caused us issues over the years is perhaps taking teams for granted and then raising their game to a good level and sort of wanting it more than us and kicking us and really fighting on the pitch. So at face value, it all looks breezy, but obviously we've got to stay composed because these teams will raise their game. And obviously later down the line, if we get out the group, which we should do, there will be some tough challenges. You look at the likes of Jose Mourinho's Roma in there, Arsenal later down the line, and as you say, obviously you get the clubs that drop down from the Champions League as well. So the Europa League, it's not the easiest competition, but obviously I think we should be hoping to challenge as far as possible because obviously we're also so desperate for some silverware after sort of a lengthy wait.
As a player, Daniel, is it always a concern that when you go to teams like Sheriff and Omonia. That's as big a game for them coming to Old Trafford and us going to them as a Europa League final. Is it always a worry going into those games for a player, or do you just go into that game with the mentality of, I know we can win this, or we are going to win this? Is that though also a concern?
I don't think so. I think like the players go into any game with the right mentality to go there and win and perform. I do think ultimately, with the likes of Sheriff and Ammonia away, I do think that Ten Hag can leave some of the big boys at home. He doesn't need to take them on those away trips. He can take the fringe players, some of the, maybe one or two of the big names, play the youngsters, because ultimately, if we win our home games, you win your 3 home games like in any European competition, you're going to qualify from the group and you can pick up a couple of wins or a couple of draws away from home. I don't really think it matters. I think it could be utilised more for giving players minutes on the pitch, giving some youth team players some chances. But I think each and every one of those players should go into every game wanting to win and wanting to perform to keep that shirt. And I think that's the mentality that Erik Ten Hag is going to bring back. It doesn't matter who you're playing. As long as you put the work in, put the effort in, you've got a chance of playing, in the Premier League on the weekend. And he's already shown that he's not going to mess about with lackadaisical performances and people not really giving it all on the pitch. So for me, he's building that mentality within the squad, even in the short period of time that he's been with us. So I think they've got to go into these games and give it their all and go to win.
Yeah, 100%. And what about you, Anton? Any concerns about this group, or should it be a walk for you, United, even for our fringe players?
The only concern for me would be Sociedad away. Of course, you said it before, we don't really do well against Spanish teams in Europe, especially the Europa League. Fringe players throughout the majority of the group stage, but we definitely will be seeing almost probably a full-strength side against Sociedad in Spain, probably at Old Trafford as well. That would be my only concern, but even then, it's not really we might lose this game. It's just going to be a tougher win. I expect us to get full points from this group.
Yeah, I'm just trying to have a look and see if we can have a look at game weeks, but it's not saying anything yet about when we're expected to play. It's quite interesting with the Europa League, and I don't know if you guys have seen with the Carabao Cup as well, if that's what it's still called. We're not playing that, like the first round of that, until the start of November, and usually that would be coming up now. So it's really interesting. Oh, here we go. Right, match and draw dates. Let's have a look and see if we can get this here. So by the looks of it, the group stage will start 2 weeks' time. Match day 1 is the 8th of September. Match day 2 is the 15th of September. Match day 3, the 6th of October. Match day 4, the 13th of October. So let me have a quick look. So I'm doing this on the cuff because I just want to have a look and see how this will impact United's fixtures. So if our first game is on the 8th, Thursday the 8th, and that is against, who will that be against? That will be against Real Sociedad. So I expect that'd be home, wouldn't it? Because we were pot 1. Yeah, so that'd be home. That will be between Arsenal at home and Palace away. And then looking at match day week 2, which is the so I clicked the wrong button there again, which is the 15th of September. So that'd be the trip to Sheriff, I'd presume. That'll be before we play Leeds at home. And then I think we'd have the other side at home. So it'll be Omasia at home on the 6th of October, which is between City away and Everton away. So actually, I don't think the draw's been too unkind to us from that perspective, but I might have had that horribly wrong. Headies with us. Lovely to see you. My biggest worry is travelling distance. Sociedad could be a tricky away. Well, I know a few people have mentioned that. Moldova, that isn't a long flight, is it? Or is my geography off here? I think that's only like 2, maybe 3 hours, Moldova. It seems quite far away, but I don't think it is in the grand scheme of things. And putting in mind, United will be going direct, I think that would be fine. My biggest concern, obviously, Cyprus, but that's one trip, and then we've got Spain. So maybe not too bad. I don't know. Maybe my geography's miles off here, but who knows? And then Liam making the point that we've all made around Sheriff, had a few shocks in the Champions League not too long ago. It's Madrid. They beat Madrid at the Bernabeu, and also I think they drew at home, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one, but we must remember Sheriff is spelt with 2 Fs and not just one. I've made that mistake 3 times already. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe and hit the like button. Henry, thank you for jumping on. Daniel Nardiello, so good to see you again, mate. Thank you for jumping on. And thank you for jumping on as well, mate. Really, really appreciate it. That is the Europa League draw. We're doing Group E against Real Sociedad, Sheriff, and also Ammonia. They, of course, are two sides with very unknown quantities, one of which recently beat Madrid. So what can we take from that? It looks like the first game is going to be happening in 2 weeks' time in the Europa League. So we'll wait till then to see what Ten Hag and how he approaches the competition. For now, I'll speak to you guys soon. We'll be back, of course, Sunday night with Last Word, where we'll be reacting to tomorrow's game against Southampton. Speak to you soon.